Live from a studio apartment, this is Missed Information. What's up, everyone? How's it going? It's been a long day. Was at work earlier? How's everyone else's day been? There is some, I will warn you right now, this show is filmed directly outside of my apartment window. I'm inside, of course, but the window's like right behind the camera. There is some increased homeless activity in the parking lot. So you might hear some yelling this evening. It's quite possible. Let's pull up the chat. Sweet, everything's working. Technical difficulties reduced. This is perfect. What's up? What's up? Okay, we're going to go over some big stories tonight. So we got the 82nd Airborne has been deployed to Iran. This is confirmed. So this is a big change in the war. We're going to get into that stuff soon. Some people are saying they're going to capture Kharg Island. Some people are saying it's just a negotiating tactic. So we'll see. We'll see what we think. CNN confirms that Trump's been negotiating with Iran. That's another story. There was some speculation as to whether or not this was true the other night. So it's confirmed by the big dog for the Democrats themselves. Trump has been negotiating. He says he's close to making a deal. At the same time, we see all this military movement, right? So what's going on? We're going to look into that. Lower my camera a bit. Maybe even a little bit. Perfect. And then got to get that pocket square up into the screen. We got to have that pocket square. Okay, we looking good? All right. We'll get into that stuff in a sec. Let's tell some jokes. You guys want some jokes? These are going to be a little rough tonight. I put a ton of time and care into these jokes, so we're going to see how they go. Oh, man. Okay. Let's just run them. Let's run it. Might have to come back to these, reword them. Let's go. Well, a double amputee professional cornhole player is accused of shooting a friend in his car over a heated argument. Yeah, imagine the embarrassment of being murdered by a professional cornhole player. It's a rough one to explain to your friends. I mean, you've got to hand it to them. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Yeah, they're trying to prosecute him for murder, but they're not sure that the case will have any legs. Well, a California governor debate has been canceled over a lack of diversity. Yeah, it was at a college campus. Yeah, apparently the colleges support the will of the people unless your name is Will. And a little too many whites on that stage. They don't. In that case, they'll pass. Well, the 82nd Airborne has been deployed to Iran. Yeah. Setting the stage for epic disappointment as Iranian military men realize these 72 virgins are well versed in the Kharg Island map from Battlefield 3. Yeah. Those not the 72 virgins you'd like to see plummeting from the sky towards you. Well, all right. We told some jokes. What's up? How's it going? All right, let's get into some news. Oh, let me pull up this chat too. Where is it? Here. I want this to feel like a little bit lower still. We need to maximize this screen space we got here. All right, this is pretty good. Kind of odd. Okay. Let's pull up Twitter. We're at an odd time of the year, by the way, where I start this show and it's very bright out, but it kind of gets dark still, sort of towards the end of it. So I'm going to have to switch up the lighting mid-show. In any case, top story from tonight. So we have confirmation that the 82nd Airborne has orders to deploy to Iran. This is from, this was earlier today, Eric Doherty on X. I use a lot of his stuff. He's one of like two accounts, like him and Mario Nafal, just always tweeting like an unbelievable amount of news stories. So I've noticed half the time when I have a news story, it just is from their account. Anyways, he says, breaking, orders have just gone out for the 82nd Airborne to deploy to the Middle East in support of Operation Epic Fury. President Trump's Department of War is keeping the operation full steam ahead for maximum leverage over the regime. So he says it's leverage, okay? Orders have been given, this was, I guess, someone quoting it, for the 82nd to deploy. As of now, the commander and his headquarters element and his staff will soon leave for the Middle East to begin assessing what will be needed once the target is assessed. I bought like one banana and now I have gnats all over my apartment. So if you see them floating through the screen, that's what's going on here. Can't have one piece of fruit in this place. Anyways, so 82nd Airborne, what's going on here? There's a couple of things. So people are speculating that this is basically either one of two things. Either Trump's planning to take Kharg Island, right? Which, if you're unaware, Kharg Island is sort of, it's the kind of oil hub where all the refineries are for Iran, right? And Nat went right to the camera. It's been the place that we've already done airstrikes, okay, in Kharg Island, but we don't actually have boots on the ground there, obviously, as of yet. So there is speculation, the 82nd Airborne is essentially exactly the type of ground troops that you would want to send in if you were planning to do something like take Kharg Island and secure it, okay? So these are the paratroopers, basically, for the military. These are the guys that parachute out of planes. They can go behind enemy lines. They can strike without warning. They can take targets by surprise. And they can set up the stage for later for troops to come in boats and everything and do a more full-fledged attack, right? Very specially trained. So some people are saying that this is the plan, is he essentially needs to take Kharg Island, right? Others are suggesting, as you just saw on Twitter, that it's more of a leverage play, right? You have Trump saying that he's extended his initial 48-hour ultimatum with Iran to now it's a 5-day window that they have to successfully negotiate. So this may be Trump exerting maximum leverage on the regime, right? In other words, we're building up ground forces all around you. You can kind of see it now. They've just already sent in the USS Tripoli, other ships towards that region who can do amphibious assaults and who can invade from the ground. So this could be a play for maximum leverage. I don't know which one it is. It could literally go either way. That's what's kind of interesting about Trump, is he created this really strong negotiating position where if you'd asked me maybe even 6 months ago, about Venezuela or anything, I said, oh, no, there's no way Trump's going in. But he has consistently over the last few months done exactly the thing that you didn't think he was going to do. So now he's backed up his negotiating ability to the point where you really can't be sure he's not going to pull off a ground invasion, right? He might be the one to do it, okay? The other interesting thing to point out, you have Trump with this ultimatum. Now he's extended it to 5 days, right? This was something Tim Pool was mentioning too. So I'll give a little bit of credit to him because I thought it was an interesting idea then. And the more I think about it, it does kind of make sense as an option, which is, we have all this technology right now, right? The U.S. does. Reportedly using AI in combat on the battlefield to assess targets, to shorten the kill chain, and to increase the number of targets that we're hitting. 9,000 targets struck so far in Iran, right? At the same time, we're not fully in the future yet, right? And you do have physical military assets that you do need to, you can't just automatically make those appear in the Middle East, right? They take time to set up. So I think one of the interesting things that you're seeing with Trump is a part of his deception. He's always going on about keeping stuff secret and wanting to take the enemy by surprise. Part of what he's doing too is he has these military assets that if he wants to strike, he has to first maneuver them into position, which can take, in the case of the buildup around Iran for the initial strikes, that took several weeks to move all of those ships into the region in the Persian Gulf around Iran, right? Didn't just happen overnight. So what are you doing when you're telegraphing all of this big military buildup, this big military movement, right? He creates deception to cover for the buildups. Okay, so in the lead up to Iran, he was downplaying anything with the Iran regime leaders, downplaying that he was going to strike. Reportedly, he even edited out any mentions of Iran from his State of the Union speech when he did it to give them a false sense of security, right? Because on the other hand, you had this big buildup that had been happening for weeks, right? So the play for him to set up these military assets and still maintain a level of deception is to create the deception himself for those physical assets that we can't immediately move like AI moves with speed, right? So with the Kharg Island thing, some, and Tim Pool was mentioning this yesterday, some are saying that what he may be doing with the 5-day extension is essentially buying time to move those assets into place and creating deception to, again, give a false sense of security to the Iranian regime so that when you eventually do execute a takeover of Kharg Island and send in the 82nd Airborne, you've at least created some uncertainty as to whether or not that's actually going to happen. So I think that's a incredibly credible theory. I think it's just as credible as him simply creating leverage with the move, right? We may be in a situation also where both options are on the table, right? The other thing that's really useful about having the assets that he's recently sent to the Middle East is they allow you to strike very quickly and in very quick changing environments. So with the 82nd Airborne, again, it doesn't matter if it's Kharg Island that you need to take or if it's the Strait of Hormuz, you need to respond to something happening specifically in a certain area of it even. They can get behind enemy lines, right? They can strike very quickly. They're trained to do just that. So whether it's one of those two areas or anything going on in the Middle East, in the area of Iran, moving these particular assets there may just be a play to kind of keep those quick striking assets in the area in the event that he needs to use them for something, which you never know what that could be, right? So sort of three options, like either leverage, a planned attack on Kharg Island, or just staying flexible, which kind of plays into the negotiations themselves. So my guess is as good as yours, honestly, which one it is. I would venture a guess, but I'd probably be wrong. He's kind of kept me on my toes recently. So the actual ability, I mean, it does seem like he's building up forces to try to at least secure Kharg Island in some form, though, and use that as negotiating pressure as well. So we'll see. Checked out on Grok what the Airborne Division actually does earlier, because I didn't know. I wasn't super familiar with it. So this is just a little bit of background. It's an active duty airborne infantry division. Okay, they're in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Nicknamed All-Americans because its original soldiers in World War I came from all 48 U.S. states. It's interesting. This is their whole thing, their whole mission statement. Within 18 hours of notification, strategically deploy, conduct forcible entry parachute assault, and secure key objectives for follow-on military operations in support of U.S. national interests. So their mission statement sounds like exactly what you would want for taking Kharg Island, right? Being able to move within 18 hours of notification. I assume that means once they're in position. So he's getting them in position currently. Rapid global deployment, parachute assaults. This is, there's some cool pictures here. This is, I asked AI to kind of walk through, I asked Grok, you know, what would this look like if we were to actually send them into Kharg Island? Grok confirms the main speculation around the 3,000 troop deployment from the 82nd Airborne Division's immediate response force centers on bolstering U.S. options in the ongoing U.S.-Israeli military campaign. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So they suggest two potential options: seizing or securing Kharg Island, that's Iran's crown jewel, oil export hub. This is the most frequently cited scenario. It says Kharg Island handles 90% of Iran's oil exports. Trump's the oil export now, with how much he's ganked. Controlling it would cripple Tehran's economic lifeline, disrupt global oil flows, and force concessions without a mainland invasion. That's pretty key, right? Because if you're going to send in U.S. ground forces, you don't want to send them into Iran. In fact, there was an Iranian leader, where is he? Earlier today, released this this thing on X. They pull it up. He's trying to taunt the U.S. New leader of IRGC has one message for American soldiers: come closer. And he says, for years we've been awaiting the Americans' entry into the designated points. And for over 2 decades, we've been training with asymmetric warfare strategy for this very moment. That's the drones. And basically house-to-house terrorist tactics. Now we have just one message for the American soldiers: come closer. Come closer. Come close enough that we can shoot you. Yeah, if I'm Trump, I'm just going to say no thanks to that. Like, why would you? He's basically pleading with us to get within range of them. Because so far, we do have technology that allows us to kind of stay out of range a lot of the time, right? And again, even if you were to send in a reason I mention this is because if we're doing an invasion or a takeover of Kharg Island, again, and this is as Grok was pointing out, it could allow Trump to exert more leverage to force a deal to end the war with the Iranian regime rather than a mainland ground invasion, which will draw stuff like this. Asymmetric warfare, they'll definitely be within range of drones there. Who knows where any attacks are coming from. At least on Kharg Island, you can kind of defend it and see the drones coming, I would imagine, over the water and everything, right? So, how do we get back here? Let's just go back. Okay. Then the other option that Grok suggests, what I was discussing before, maximum leverage or contingency planning, being full steam ahead, pressuring Iran, having your contingencies open. So, oh, do we have... I don't know if it gave the breakdown here. Oh, here it is, a walkthrough. I asked it for a walkthrough of what it would look like if we invaded. Just it. Here we go. Okay, number 1 would be rapid deployment within 18 hours. The brigade is designed exactly for this. Alert to wheels up in under 18 hours. Okay. First thing they would do is establish a command and control setup somewhere in the Middle East. Troops arrive light, no heavy armor or tanks. They rely on what they can carry or have airdropped: rifles, machine guns, javelins, mortars, and limited vehicles. It says the insertion method would likely not be a classic parachute drop. The most probable sequence, I guess they're getting this per the New York Times. Excuse me. U.S. Marines from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, it's around 2,500 troops, would conduct the initial seizure using Ospreys, helicopters, or landing craft after pre-strikes have degraded Iranian defenses. We've already done a little bit of that on Kharg Island. Marine combat engineers quickly repair the island's damaged airstrip. Once the airfield is usable, the 82nd's paratroopers airland via C-130 or C-17s to reinforce and expand the foothold. So it has an alternative if speed is critical. I don't know that it is in this case. Core objectives on the island would be to secure, this is number 1, secure the oil export infrastructure or the crown jewel to Iran. Guard loading jetties, terminals, storage tanks, and pumping stations to prevent Iranian sabotage, e.g. fires or demolition like Saddam did in 1991. Yes, this is what leads me to believe the Kharg Island scenario of actually securing it does seem somewhat likely, just because that's a good point. You don't really want the regime leaders just sabotaging the oil infrastructure. This denies Tehran its main revenue source while preserving the facilities for potential post-conflict use. It'll allow them to control the airfield, turn it into a logistics hub for follow-on supplies, heavier armor units, or evacuation. Allows them to clear and hold key terrain, neutralize any remaining IRGC garrisons, and establish defensive positions. Also allows them to prevent counterattacks, okay? So they can defend against drones and fast boats in the mainland, which is about 25 kilometers away. They can defend artillery, rocket fire. The entire island is within range of Iran's missiles. Of course, we just saw Iran can hit up to Diego Garcia, which is, I think, how far is that? 3,000 miles away? It's a ways away. Any Iranian attempt to retake the island. Okay? So that's basically it. That would be the plan, is to secure the oil infrastructure, eliminate any remaining Iranians on the Iranian leadership on the island, and then exert pressure, negotiating pressure over Iran, now that you've cut off their monetary supply and everything, okay? Got that. So that's the biggest story from today. Might do some lighting in a sec. Finger on the button of the lighting. What else we got? So we got, this was CNN confirming today that Iran, there was some discussion over the weekend as to, or yesterday really, as to whether, Trump mentioned that he had been negotiating with Iranian officials for an end to the war, and they were close, right? Well, CNN had this whole thing about they couldn't confirm that, and it was sort of, lots of people were casting doubt as to whether there were talks at all, right? Because you did have some IRGC leaders coming out and saying they hadn't been speaking with Trump. It was false, right? So there was speculation. Was he just making this up, right? So today, CNN does confirm, walks back their claims. They say they're now learning from a senior Iranian source. It was funny, they had to go to their Iranian source to confirm. But they have confirmed with their Iranian insider that Trump indeed has been doing outreach with Iran.
Global Affairs Analyst Kim Dozier. Kim, what do you make of this development?
The U.S. just blinked. I mean, we already saw it in the series of change.
We're now learning from a senior
I don't know what the hell she's talking about, blinked.
Iranian source that there has been an outreach between the U.S. and Iran. The source tells CNN that this was initiated by Washington. With us now, CNN military analyst, retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton, and CNN Global Affairs analyst Kim Dozier. Kim, what do you make of this?
There's, so you had that. That's confirmed. And then Trump did a presser today. Give me 1 second. Let's see if I can successfully pull up the chat or not. How would I get this? I just want to see it on my TV. That's really all. One moment. I guess we're going to move this here. Sorry, doing something technical here. It's got the worst chat setup for whatever reason for this software that I use, and if I put it somewhere else, it disappears. So, what's up? I see there's one person there. How are you doing? This is our best ratings yet. So, Trump did a presser after CNN confirmed he has been talking. We got some good news. Apparently saying that Iran has agreed to never have a nuclear weapon as part of the terms that he's been discussing with Iranian leadership. Listen in.
And remember, it all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. And remember, it all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, they said, what are the top 10? I said, well, and remember, it all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, they said, what are the top 10? I said, well, number 1, 2, and 3 is they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
How do you ensure that?
So that'd be pretty huge if he's able to actually secure a deal through a negotiation with Iran where they agree to completely abandon their nuclear weapon hopes. Be pretty big. He was asked by reporters today, Trump was, why he would trust Iranian leadership. And he had a good quote. He says he doesn't trust anybody. Here's the quote here.
I'd say, Jason, this is regime change, right? I don't trust anybody. I don't trust you. I mean, that's only because I know you. But if I didn't know you, I'd probably have more trust. But I don't trust anyone.
Why bother?
Why do you say that? Why do you say what makes you trust? Do you think I trust them? I don't trust them.
Why bother talking to them?
Because they're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal.
That was just a funny quote. I think he mentions to one of the reporters, I don't trust you. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. He's kind of gangster in this war, dude. He says every day he's dropping some little mob boss quote. This was Pete Hegseth, Secretary of the Department of War. Secretary? Is that his title? Leader, in any case. He's dropping mob boss quotes. He says, we negotiate with bombs, is the quote.
Out and close with and destroy the enemy as viciously as possible from moment one. And that's why we see ourselves as part of this negotiation as well. We negotiate with bombs. You have a choice as we loiter over the top of Tehran, as the president talked about your future. The president has made it clear that you will not have a nuclear weapon. The War Department agrees. Our job is to ensure that. And out and close.
It's a pretty good negotiating tactic to be able to have bombs. This must be like the final boss battle for Trump. That must be awesome. To be like a negotiator and a deal maker your whole life. And then the final level of being a deal maker is you get to have bombs as leverage. It's just pretty sweet. I imagine that's cool. I imagine it really helps the negotiations. I feel like I would have gotten a better deal on my car loan had I had a bomb. This was an odd thing from today. So Trump is saying he received some type of a present, a gift from Iran, and he doesn't clarify what the gift is.
They're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it. So that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Related?
No, it wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related, and it was a very nice thing they did. But what?
Well, if it's a golden statue of a horse, you need to give it back right now. There's about to be 100 Iranians popping out of that thing. This just sounded shady to me. I was like, a gift? Are we sure the gift's not poisoned? What type of gift is this exactly? But I didn't see any reporting on what it was as of yet. Do we have? Let's see if there's any news. Trump, Iran gift. I didn't see any updates. What is it? Iran gave us a present, and the present arrived today. It was a very worth. No idea. So no idea on the Iranian gift. So that's the status of the Iran negotiations currently. What else we got going on? Let's do some jokes again. We'll do a couple quick jokes. I feel like, let's see. Do we even need to do the jokes? Sure, I'll do a couple. I'll do a couple. Well, a double amputee professional cornhole player is accused of shooting a friend in his car over a heated argument. Yeah, imagine the embarrassment of being murdered by a professional cornhole player. It's got to be rough. Well, I mean, you've got to hand it to him. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't. Yeah, they're trying to prosecute him, but they're not sure the case will have any legs. Well, a California governor debate has been canceled over a lack of diversity. It was at a college campus, supposed to be. Yeah, apparently the colleges support the will of the people, unless their name is Will. I'm going to stick that one again. Yeah, apparently the colleges support the will of the people, unless your name is Will. Too many Wills on stage. Ba-ba. Well, the 82nd Airborne has been deployed to Iran, setting the stage for epic disappointment as Iranian military men realize these 72 virgins are well versed in the Kharg Island map from Battlefield 3. They're going to want to send these virgins back. Not the virgins they expected to fall from the heavens. Those were cool. Whatever, those are free. You eat your jokes. Eat your free jokes. I got a teleprompter. How you like that? Peasants. Alright, what else we got? This was ICE agents. So we got ICE agents at airports helping out the TSA. They're not doing TSA work, but they are just doing security, basically. Trump's got him handing out waters now at the airport. So Trump's been doing this thing where he's trying to kind of improve the public perception of ICE agents. Not necessarily improve. I don't know that he knows he can improve it. But trying to, especially if he's going to deploy them into more and more civilian settings in this type of capacity, helping out at airports, he wants them to have a very friendly vibe, right? So they're handing out waters here. I believe this was at Houston. Offering to hold someone's spot in line if they need to use the restroom, about as friendly as they can be. Overwhelming reaction. I've heard two reactions to the ICE agents so far being at airports online. The first is just people being thankful that the lines are shorter, except for Democrats. They're protesting and creating their own lines outside of airports, forming a line and not even going anywhere. Pretty much sums up a Democrat protest for you. All right. But the other thing I've heard online is basically people just shocked how much shorter the lines are at airports from the ICE agents being there. And the suggestion being that somehow there are illegal immigrants who are not going to airports due to ICE being there. I don't necessarily know that's the case. People are trying to make that connection. Could just be that they're helping out with the lines, but people speculating a lot online. I don't know. It's not like the illegal immigrants are coming in by plane flight, so I don't know why that would affect the airport. But that was the other big speculation online. This was somebody had a tweet about the ICE agents handing out water and stuff. He says, "Man, the Gestapo really has gotten soft." This was Jason Howerton on X. It's just like the Nazis you know and remember, handing out bottled waters to people. There was, we talked about this during the jokes a little bit, but there was a California governor debate that apparently has been canceled due to a lack of diversity. So I think what happened here, I think this is one of the initial debates for California governor. You can see they had a slightly more diverse crowd here. I believe what's happening is they're starting to pare down the candidates now to where like these last debates, future debates will only have the top candidates. And apparently they're all white. So of course, whatever college this was supposed to be held at canceled the debate because they're hearing that it's not diverse enough, right? Which the joke, some of my jokes aren't really even funny. They're just meant to make a point. This joke was less funny, but the point is, yeah, you know, there's an obvious contradiction here where you're supposedly supporting the will of the people unless it's like too many white guys for whatever reason, right? And then all of a sudden you don't support the will of the people. You don't want people to even see. It's like you have to somehow magically diversify the debate stage to make it okay for people. This is what the people have chosen, right? There's no need to add DEI or diversity to anything. The best candidates will be there regardless of their race. So don't worry about it. It'll be on autopilot. But that was the story here. Let's see if we can get a little more context on this. Oh. How does New York Times even have a paywall? Who pays for it? Is it just all New York Democrats buying this trash? Unbelievable. There's also the other big news about the California governor debate. I'll have to look into this a little bit more, but basically my understanding is that there's a really solid shot we end up with a Republican governor in California, because the way that the governor races work in California, it's like only the top 2 candidates can actually advance to the governor's race. And apparently they're both Republican at the moment. So if that happens, there will be 100% guarantee of a Republican governor in California. Newsom is, of course, I think, planning to run for president. So he's going to be leaving. I believe that's what's happening. One way or another, he's out. So Republican governor, unless they somehow pull some type of redistricting stuff, Democrats are pretty good at making sure to force their will upon the people. So you already have Democrats in governor, what's that called, where you redo the congressional lines. They basically suspended this previous bill that had passed to draw fair election maps throughout the state. They suspended that. There was like a whole commission that was designed to make sure it was fair. They suspended it just outright to elect more Democrats. So basically usurping the will of the people. It's already a very left-leaning state. Didn't really need to do that, but they want more representation in Congress. So unless they pull something like that here, should be a Republican governor. Just a couple more stories, and we'll wrap it up for tonight. So, weird ones. Squirrels vaping, thought I should mention. I should have a little section on our dystopian future. So this is the New York Post reporting. I guess squirrels are now vaping e-cigarettes after mistaking the fruity aromas for food. Which, I feel like that's not the only reason they're vaping, if I'm being honest. They look like they just need to take the edge off a little bit, frankly. But yeah, that is a weird thing. I could see that. I mean, they are, if you've ever had vapes, they are really fruity and stuff. Brutal. Those squirrels are going to have a nose ring pretty soon. Those squirrels are going to have a septum piercing pretty soon. Brutal. Going to be walking around in fishnets. Fuck. In a hoodie. This reminds me of the pigeons. You guys know about the pigeons? You see pigeons down. I see a lot of pigeons in downtown San Diego, and they're like all over the place. They're a nuisance. You always hear people saying like, oh, they're like wingless rats, right? And they're all over. And when you walk through a group of pigeons, right, they're like very people friendly. Like they just don't seem to see us as a threat at all. They just like part right around us, right? Well, I looked this up once, and it turns out the reason for that is because we domesticated pigeons, right? Like way back when, before we had iPhones, we had carrier pigeons where they would carry messages for us, right? And you would send your carrier pigeon, it'd fly and bring a message to someone. So we domesticated them for that purpose as almost like a technology, except now they're obsolete. Right? We invented the phone. We didn't need the pigeons anymore. Now we have iPhones. So these pigeons, when you see them wandering around the streets looking for humans, they're basically discarded iPhones with feathers. That is a dystopian thought. And now you got the squirrels vaping. You're going to see a squirrel vaping next to a pigeon just being like, fucking humans. We used to be cool. We used to be chill. I don't know what happened. Dystopian. And then this was the other weird story. I guess there's this guy, a double amputee. Also professional cornhole player. And apparently skilled marksman. Who, I guess he killed his friend. Maybe his friend in the passenger seat of his car. They got into an argument and he shot him in the head. It's pretty insane. I don't really have much to say about this story other than if you're murdered by a double amputee, I have to feel like you had that coming. That just sounds like a Darwin thing to me. And if you're able to be murdered by a double amputee, you weren't going to make it anyways. And this guy did spend his entire life just professionally learning to hit the shot. I probably wouldn't have messed with him. So, just an odd story. There's a video of him online. What would I want to look up like amputee gun, but I'm so afraid of what will come up in this search suggestion. Amputee. Oh man, double amputee. It's going to potentially even serve me worse porn. Loading. I'm going to turn off the Twitter while I search this, first of all. There's too many words going on that could just... Okay. It came up with the right thing. This is a video of him loading and firing, I guess. See, number one, he's got a solid base. And that guy's like a tree stump firing on you. But, oh gosh. I also wouldn't mess with him. I mean, if you're a double amputee and you mess with guns, you are spending all of your time learning to shoot that gun. You super messing with guns. So I wouldn't have messed with this fool. It's like there's a guy who used to go to my boxing gym. He's kind of famous, actually. You may have seen him. I think he's missing his entire lower torso. So he's just like arms. He's just got his arms and his chest, I believe, and his head. Obviously. And he's missing his head. And he would do jujitsu. And he was recently in a match where he got choked out and stuff, like a professional match. And that guy was good at jiu-jitsu. Because again, if you're a guy with just the two arms, you decide to do jiu-jitsu. He was jacked. He was jacked. And plus, nobody wants to mess with him because what are you going to do? And then all of a sudden, you get shot. Goes south real fast. All right. If you were just joining, you can do the replays on YouTube. It's going to be there under, I think, live video. I live stream every Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. So that's like 9 p.m. Eastern. We go over the day's news. We do some jokes and everything. I already did the jokes tonight, but you can rewatch it. Subscribe to YouTube, or you can join me on Kick, Twitch, Rumble, Substack if you like newsletter formats. I send out a morning newsletter every day, free to everybody. Basically goes over my show notes. So it's going to tell you if you missed the show exactly what happened with yesterday's news. So check it out and share the show with your friends. Subscribe if you can. That's what helps me. Hopefully build up a little bit of money from this thing. I make almost none currently. It's a passion project. So, all right, guys. It was good to see you. I don't think anyone's like really chatting right now, yeah? No.